We can broadcast up to 8 hours. What do you want to listen to marathon? I don't think so. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to team meeting number 95. We're 5 away from our 100 team meeting, and I think we're having Kanye West on there, or Rihanna, and who else are we having on there, Rob?
Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez, of course. They're going to be doing a wonderful duet and selections of songs off both their albums. Yeah, it'll be good.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to my duets as well with you. Fantastic. We've been practicing in the studio all the time. So anyway, that's more serious. How have you been doing this week? These past 2 weeks, Rob? We've missed each other for 2 weeks now.
That's true. It was Florida was awesome. I spent a lot of time with Austin and Anjay on the beach. Also visiting my parents. Some great runs. Got to go on an airboat ride through the Everglades, which through a mangrove forest. Saw dolphins, manatees, incredible amounts of fish and crab. And yeah, it was really, really relaxing and nice to just get away and not be quite so dialed into the internet. And that's a great thing. I mean, you know, it doesn't last because you have to come back from vacation and handle everything. But it was nice to get away. And you, of course, were gone for a week. So, you know, tell me a little bit about that.
Oh no, that was well. Of course, I went last week. Monday we left. There's holidays here, as everybody probably knows. My girlfriend is a primary school teacher, and so we only have limited vacations during the year. So we got away. We went to a little house in the middle of the forest. Had a lot of a really nice time. Close by, they had a swimming pool. We visited there. It was cold. There was a lot of sleet. Yeah, there's awful weather, but we enjoyed it anyway. We didn't really care. And we visited lots of historical places. I mean, far more historic than places that you're used to, of course, like 500-600 years old places.
Yeah.
1,000-year-old places. You know,
you saw some ancient geological formations, but no, you're right. So where were you? You were in France?
No, well, we were in the south of Holland, right close to the border with Belgium. So close to the border of Belgium, I think we could practically see Germany. So that was quite nice.
Oh, excellent! And it's always fun to hang out with the kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had lots of fun. I made the agreement with my girlfriend that it would be a half work and half play. So but of course I took a whole load of electronics and all this type of stuff with me, and had so much fun building all kinds of stuff and having lots of fun, and also explaining a lot of these things to my kids. My eldest is 4, so she has no clue what's going on. But when Papa can make blinky lights, then she loves it. So.
That's great.
Oh, and she now has shoes which blink. Which I didn't do this, but she has now. We bought shoes for her, which flash every time she walks. So she thinks that's wonderful as well.
That's really nice. So let's move on to the agenda. I'm getting a little bit of an echo, Daniel.
Oh, I'll get my mic.
Okay. No. So today at our meeting, we're going to talk about the Director of Institutional Sales position and our new hire. We're going to also talk about looking for people to do student outreach in the U.S. and also beyond. And then finally, we're going to talk about an article in The Guardian that we'll pull up, which is about the problems that Generation Y is having in terms of their income levels, and some pretty amazing graphs of the data. And of course, one of the components of that is going to be student loan debt. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So just three things. So the first piece, Director of Institutional Sales, Jesse Bania is going to be working with us in the Northeast and working and finding institutions, both in the Northeast and other parts of the US, for us to sell our content. And sell classes to that our faculty have developed. So basically, how this is going to work is, remember, our faculty own all the content they create. They set the tuition rate. what we can do is we can be kind of Pearsons with the professor. We can meet and sell content to traditional universities and colleges that use Pearsons or other online providers to do the content. But the great thing about us is we can also supply them with the professor, and we can supply them with the professor at roughly the same cost that they would just have if they sold the content. What this means is that we can provide better classes, more specialized courses, smaller classes for students and for these institutions, increasing their course catalogs. And for our faculty, what we can also do is, we generally negotiate a higher rate of pay than even is listed on the catalog. And of course, at least 80% of the tuition revenue that's generated in a class goes to our faculty. Remember, we charge $100 or 10%, whichever is greater. So the great thing about having Jesse on board is that he's going to be devoting a lot of time to this, a lot of time to doing these types of sales, which both Daniel and I have been doing piecemeal, because there's a lot of other stuff we've got to do to keep Oplerno up and running. Working with faculty, working with students, creating content, and just making sure the technology works really well. And so let me just pull up Jesse's bio, and that'll be going on the website this week. So Jesse's worked together with on his passion for learning as he progressed through his 20s. He has 2 degrees in a range of professional pursuits and 3 international journeys and experiences. He studied in France, international development and education policy, and worked in those fields at both the U.S. Bank, UNICEF, and a few startups, including Imperative and Dream Sea-Doo. He's traveled extensively in Southern Europe, the Balkans, and South America while working with youth on social impact projects in Kosovo, researching urban design in Brazil, and volunteering with restoration and biodiversity education initiatives in Ecuador. His commitment to the redesign of post-secondary learning is stemmed from his personal frustrations and interpersonal realizations that has come along the way. The reflection of these experiences generated questions like, what will constitute the future of learning for all, and how will those that need these opportunities and those that facilitate and teach them be given voice and ownership in their creation? So Jesse's, spent a lot of time taking a look at Oplerno, talking with us, and now he's coming on board. He's in his mid-30s. He lives right now in Maine, and has a lot of different kinds of experiences and background, which are going to help him do those outreach to the institutions. So we welcome Jesse on board, and there'll be more information on Jesse and what he's up to in the next several weeks as we do a more formal onboarding experience here with Oplerno. So Daniel, you want to just say a few words, because you've interviewed him and such?
I'm very excited to have Jesse on board. I talked to him before I went to holiday. The last days before I went on holiday, so I was wrecked. Really needed to concentrate on the. But he just made, even in my state where I could only take in a sat and a mat, he was just on point. He made me enthusiastic. He gave me ideas about Oplerno, which things that I might not have have not been on my forefront. My vision of Oplerno is following a certain path. And he brings new ideas to the table, fresh outlook to. So I'm excited to have him on board, and I think I'm really looking forward to a new and developed Oplerno. Welcome, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm really excited again to have that person just focused in on doing the institutional outreach, which leads us now that we have that. Remember, the strategy for Oplerno is that. One of the strategies is that we're going after institutions to sell our content and to do the outreach for the classes, because both that creates credibility by association for us. That also generates it's a known pipeline of students that can come and take Oplerno classes for transfer credit, and also working with those institutions to potentially develop new content. So we're kind of looking at already at the institutional sales is furthering those relationships that we already have and that we're trying to develop to create pipeline of students for the classrooms. So now that we've got that piece, we're going to be posting a bunch of different jobs about student outreach. Now, what we this is something that I've talked about with Jesse. What we're really looking for is people who are either in school or just out of school who want to tap into and create a remember Oplerno is a movement. It's an open learning organization, and really want to use and develop the basic tools and foundation that we have, and help young people understand that they can get an education for cheaper, a whole lot cheaper, and in exactly what they want by working with Oplerno and working with our associated institutions that partner with us. It's really, really important that we keep costs low and that we pay our faculty as much as possible so the courses are really high quality. What we haven't done a good job at doing is really pushing the notion that this is a revolution and this is a real big change in the way higher education is accessed by people. And I think the best group that's going to be the most successful in both recruiting students to take the courses, but also really pushing Oplerno to be a tool that's accessible to everyone globally at a very, very reasonable cost, is when we get people who are under the age of 30 to really take up the banner and start marching with it, and get a little bit pissed off about the current state of affairs in terms of accessibility globally to higher education, and also the costs. The costs are too much, and we have a really great solution that can enable people to get a high quality education at a reasonable cost, where they're back in control, they're in the center of things. Students controlling what they learn and controlling who they're being taught by, which is something that doesn't happen in traditional higher ed. And you don't have to go for a degree. You can just take a bunch of classes to earn a certificate. You can take a class to learn some skills. But what we really want to do is we want to find those student ambassadors, a few of them. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the US or whether you're outside the US. We really are interested in getting people involved in changing higher ed fundamentally, which is the goal of Oplerno from the beginning. That's it. Daniel, you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I'm unmuted, so usually I'm I'm muted now, so I'm talking now. No, absolutely right. I think, I mean, it adds to what I said previously about the direction that Oplerno is going. We're very much focused. We're focused on things that we could have been focused on more now, or we're going to be focused on more on the student outreach and more other things now that we have additional hand to be able to do that. And we're, yes, I think, yeah, I'm just going to repeat otherwise what you said. So we're completely.
Yeah. So we're going to have the job posting on Wednesday. It's going to go on our website. But just for those of you people who are tuning in, realize that we're now going to be pushing the student ambassador role, and finding students who want to work with us to bring people on board, and looking forward to doing that.
Now, Rob, I know this isn't really the place for it. I mean, of course, ideally this is the place, but say the student ambassador roles, are these also possibly for credit roles? Are these roles that people could take as a internship or things like this for college grads as well?
It's internship, but it can be an internship. But what I really also want to do is incentivize people to also be making some, being able to make some money, plus doing good. I mean, remember, societal change has to come about because the business model is sustainable, okay, because of sustainability practices. And we've tried a couple of different things a little bit half-heartedly I think, and when we're getting a little bit too bogged down in certain kinds of complications earlier on. And what we need to do is make sure that, sure, we can, there might be a way to do some sort of, credits for transfer credits in terms of an internship program. But what I really want to do is make it so that people can also, earn some money while they're recruiting, students. There are limitations about recruiting U.S. students, okay, that can't happen because of certain things with federal aid and accreditation. But outside the U.S., that's a very different type of thing. And so, and we'll be talking about that at the next team meeting, when we really roll out the program. But no, there's possibility for transfer credits, but I'm also trying to make sure that we do it in such a way that it is economically sustainable for people who are students and need to earn some money, because we can't have students doing things for free, which is the problem in higher ed. They're actually not doing things for free. They're paying a ton of cash to get these kind of so-called internship programs. Yep. So let me pull up, I want to pull up that article now. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And the link, which you have, Daniel, it's on the Podio section. Okay. So here's an article in The Guardian that just came out today, which is a study on a 30-year economic betrayal dragging down Generation Y's income. And, I'm Generation X. Daniel, are you Generation Y? Or are you kind of like in between?
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought that I was Generation X, but then these borders, it just depends whose numbers or whose age group or whose thing you're carrying in. So I don't know. And of course I'm socially as well a bit difficult because I belong to a slightly different culture what's a subculture in the Netherlands too, so it's difficult.
Okay, so we'll call, well, I'm definitely Generation X, but Generation Y, we're talking about people from roughly ages of 25 to 29. And then these graphs talk about people in the ages of 65 to 69 and ages 70 to 74. And talking about percentage growth in disposable income above or below the national average growth rate. So when we're talking about people from roughly 30 to 65, that's the bulk of people who are working. And what we want to do is, think about, well, what's the percentage that of growth in household income over between different dates in different particular countries. So this is a broad, the statistics in this, the data is the data, but in terms of trying to figure out statistically which groups are benefiting, you can take a look at the graphs, but there's probably some error within it. But it makes a great point that Generation Y has seen their average income fall in the last 30 years. But which groups have benefited? You see these transfer payments, if you want to be perfectly blunt, transfer payments from younger cohorts to people who are just about to retire or who are in retirement. These are just percentage changes. Now, what I find really interesting is that only Australia have things gone well, although there might be a slight difference in terms of the last 5 years because of the commodities crash. But you can see that young people are getting their income squeezed and taken away from them, and that they're being transferred transfer payments to people who are older, to the what in the U.S. is called the greatest generation, or people who are even older than that in terms of these retirement programs. generally, or different social programs, but young people getting really quite hurt and shafted in many countries in the EU, and also in the US. And let's add on the extra insult that not only has income levels been falling, but people are being saddled with more and more debt, student loan debt primarily. Also some credit card debt, although a few years ago, the amount of student loan debt is now greater than the amount of credit card debt outstanding. And so all of those things are making it incredibly difficult for Generation Y to get any kind of percentage, any kind of traction in terms of creating their own lives and having their own independence economically. And the article really points out a whole bunch of different, prosperity is plummeting for young adults in the developed world. In the US, the under 30s are now poorer than retired people. Okay. And in the UK, pensioner disposable income has grown prodigiously, 3 times as fast as the income of young people. And that just is creating more and more of a social divide. And you can see that manifesting in the US in terms of the support for Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side. And even some of the a decent percentage of people who are pissed off and have decided to abandon the Republican Party and join Trump. So on the fringes of the left and the right, you've got a huge number of young people who are fed up with the system. And one of the ways in which we can deal with that is, 1, creating economic opportunity, but 2, we got to get the student loan cost dramatically lower. And for those people who are, with graduate degrees, between the ages of 25 and 55, we've got to increase their income, and that means really taking a hard look at this whole adjunct situation where faculty get paid a very little amount of money for teaching full loads of classes, like the tenured track professors making 5 and 6 figures. Daniel, you want to add anything, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, I see this a lot around me. I see it also in the UK. And I've seen it for quite some time. This disenfranchised people just feel disenfranchised. They don't feel like their vote counts for anything. They don't feel like these. So this is a lot of these people, especially young people, are going for these fringes. And they do really notice that their money doesn't go as far as their parents' money does. Their parents have been able to save lots of money. Everything didn't cost so much. I mean, the rent is too high, to quote a political figure from the 90s, I think. So older people just have more savings. They have more investments. They have better 401ks or whatever they have. They have better retirement plans. But this is also disappearing. I mean, also these older people are going to be ending up not being able to leave as much to their children, because also they're going to be bled dry as well. So it's not looking so good for this for the Gen Y or for the millennials either, for that matter.
Yep, Gen Y, or even the Gen Xers are definitely seeing their income levels starting to fall, and we've got to look at where's about economic and social and political opportunity and building power and building financial capital, and that only is going to happen if we've got jobs for people and if people have access to education. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, if you can't access education to get the skills you need to thrive in your community, then you're not going to be able to improve either your life, the life of your family, or the life of your community and country. And the costs have to fall, and there has to be more economic activity generated, and at a cheaper rate, without having to deal with all kinds of whether it's bureaucracy, taxes, or funny money and high inflation rates like we're seeing now in different parts of the world. Or deflation, to be perfectly blunt, because in a deflationary environment, debts are so much more difficult to pay off. And lots of countries are suffering that right now.
Yep.
So, you know, Oplerno is our way of trying to help and deal with a bunch of different issues, accessibility, but also to deal with economic and social inequality. Because if we can cut the cost of higher ed dramatically, and we can with what we're doing and our business model, then more and more people are going to participate. And if more and more people participate, they then have the skills to create jobs, to create businesses where other people can get hired, and we can raise, raise everybody's stake and improve our societies in a much better way than what's happening right now, where we're creating more and more scarcity on things that don't really need to be scarce. You don't need to spend, $120,000 or $200,000 on a very good education. You can spend a whole lot more. And our faculty, I'll stack them up against anybody. We're getting there, and we're creating a lot of great content. What we need is to find that under 30 crowd. We need to find a bunch of you all who are pissed off and angry and aren't going to take it anymore, and want to build something, want to build a more just system. And Oplerno, with our transparency, the way we've created the business, what we're trying to accomplish, I mean, you can't get any more transparent than that. So if you want to join us in the revolution, then let us know. We'll be very happy to have you on board.
Yep, indeed.
Okay, so I think that's it for this week. Thank you guys for, thank you men and women for tuning in. And we'll have an update for you next week, and we'll see you online.
Yeah, and of course, remember to follow our Twitter, follow our Facebook, follow everything that we do, because we can continue to produce amazing content. And Higher Ed Revolution is producing some amazing content as well this week. There's so much been scheduled up, so please follow that as well. And links are all in the show notes below. Goodbye.
Great. Goodbye.